morning. Welcome to This Day, and thank you for joining us. Today is Saturday, and it's April 18th. So I want to tell you who's on our show today. We have Hogue that's going to be on, and we talked to Dr. Bran Zawadzki, and he had a lot of great information for us about what's going on at their facilities. Then we also talked to Diane Phelps, who's from Laguna Woods Village Community Fund, and she wanted to let everybody know about what their fund is all about, what they're in need of, and how can you use them if you need some help, whether you're a club or you're an individual or you're going through something with coronavirus at this time. Now let's go to some of our resources like we normally do. I wanted to give you the information about the cdc.gov as well as ochealthinfo.com. Now, of course, cdc.gov has all sorts of information for you, but I highlighted one for this week, which really just talks to you about dealing with stress, coping with this stay-at-home order, and it gives you lots of ideas of what you can do there. Then you can also go to our Laguna Woods Village Alerts.com website, and that has lots of information. You go to the left-hand side, and there you can click on all different types of links. That'll bring you to grocery store hours and a variety of other great things. And of course, you can always email us at info@lagunawoodsvillage.com, or you could call our hotline that is updated as we get information, 949-268-2019. Now, we received a lovely photo. While it's not sunny, it just sort of gives you an idea of what it's like when things are closed at the beach. This was sent to us by Mark Weiss. So we appreciate that, Mark. Thank you so much for sending that. Balboa Pier. Yeah, pier open 5 a.m. to midnight. I don't think so, right? Sunrise this morning be 6:18 and sunset 7:23. All right, let's take a break, and when we come back, you will be introduced to Dr. Bran Zawadzki of Hogue. Stay tuned.
As Orange County's highest-ranked hospital, Hogue is the place to turn to for timely information, reassurance, and care in these uncertain times. Our dedicated physicians, nurses, and staff stand ready to safely deliver world-class care, just as we have for nearly 70 years. This is what we do. We are here for you, and we will overcome this together. To access Hogue for all of your healthcare needs, visit hogue.org/trust.
Today, I have Dr. Bran Zawadzki with us, who is with Hogue, and he's here to tell us a little bit about some things that are going on at the hospital and a variety of other things that you guys need to take into consideration. Well, Doctor, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So, what's going on in the ER room right now? Now, it sounds like we may be hitting a curve. Maybe we never really actually got there. What are you seeing going on right now?
Well, it's pretty quiet. The hospital, as most hospitals, I think all the hospitals in the country, was concerned about a significant wave of COVID patients. So we shut down our elective procedures, which are clearly a major portion of what the hospital does, emergency procedures also. And in fact, we've seen a drop off in people coming to the emergency room when they should for things like heart attacks, strokes, acute abdominal pain and vomiting, things that they normally come to the emergency room for, which actually could be a lot more life-threatening than the virus, which has a risk of dying once infected of less than 1%. So 85% of the people who get it recover, but that fear is keeping people from coming to the emergency room. And so all we are seeing pretty much are patients who have broken legs, trauma to their brain to head from car accident. They're forced to come, but people otherwise are not coming when they should. And so it's pretty quiet. As far as the COVID patients, we've seen the peak. It was about a week ago. We had 24 patients in the hospital. We're down to 10 now. And We had one admission to the hospital with COVID yesterday. Um, and our floors are eerily quiet again because we have no other patients and we only have 10 patients in house with COVID in a hospital that's got 400 beds.
Right, right. So tell me, what should our folks keep in mind? I mean, obviously your hospital's gone through and cleaned and everything's great. I mean, you're at the utmost sterilization. So what should they be considering?
Well, they should be considering coming to the emergency room for any emergent problem, crushing chest pain, sudden loss of speech or balance or vision or weakness, sudden loss of weakness, which could be the beginnings of a stroke. We had a gentleman come in, 65-year-old gentleman come in a couple of days ago, 4 days into a stroke, which was now irreversible, whereas we could have reversed it. And he told us he was afraid of getting infected.
Mm.
Every patient that comes into the emergency room is carefully screened and segregated. If there's any suspicion of infection, they're separated and treated in a different way. Our environmental teams are terrific. They're our partners in preventing infection. They make sure the floors are scrubbed multiple times a day, surfaces are wiped clean. It is as safe a place as any that you can go to, probably more safe than your own home.
Yeah.
So it is, there's no reason to fear getting infection in our emergency room or in our hospital for that matter, either hospital, Irvine and Newport Beach. So folks that would normally call 911 to come to the hospital should do so. And those that are very concerned should call our doctors. The beauty of what COVID has, one of the nice things that has come out of COVID is that our doctors are now seeing patients virtually, just like you and I are talking. Our whole medical group doctors are routinely visiting with patients using the telehealth platforms, and our specialists, patients who have Parkinson's disease and trouble moving from old strokes, or it's tough for them to get to a doctor's office. Those specialists can now see patients with the platform that you and I are using right now.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, obviously that's one of many things that I think good will come out of this whole situation. You know, touching on fear, because people are afraid to go out based on the fact that we have a stay-at-home directive. Now, of course, the directives are there for our safety as well as other people's safety, but what are some things that you would recommend people do to kind of stay away from the whole fear thing?
Well, so that's a very good point. We are now at the point where the fear virus, as I call it, is maybe more detrimental than the real virus, as I mentioned earlier, keeping people from coming when they should. But again, normalizing the fear with the facts about how this bug affects people is critical. So don't look at the collective numbers, the body count, total numbers of deaths, the total numbers of people infected. Realize that 2 years ago, we had 50 million people infected with a new strain of flu, and 80,000 people in the US died from that new strain of flu.
Right.
We're at 22,000 deaths collectively. Focus on the individual risk, your personal risk. If you get infected, turns out 50% of the folks who get infected don't even know they have the infection. Mm-hmm. Like I said, 80 to 85% don't need any kind of medical attention. It's a cold or maybe a somewhat bad flu-like illness, but they don't need medical attention. The 15% that do, still 99+% recover. And so on an individual basis, your risk of dying from an infection with this virus is well under 1%, about the risk of dying in an accident. Still in all, practice the important hygiene lessons we've learned. Right. Wash your hands anytime you're touching dirty surfaces, anytime you're out, come back and wash your hands. Soap and water kills, simple soap and water kills this relatively fragile virus. Right. Practice social distancing until this epidemic is over. It's definitely on the wane as we speak. I looked at the curves this morning. Everything is dramatically improving. The number of people showing up for testing is falling off of a cliff. So focus on your personal risk, maintain your personal hygiene, and if the fear virus is really deeply rooted in you, do the common things that lower anxiety. That would be mindfulness exercises. You can find them online. Anxiety relief through exercise, anxiety relief through creative activities. Call your friends and do virtual lunches. And if you're still shut in, which people still are, do virtual lunches and virtual cocktail parties even. Just one glass of wine, two at most, to keep you from.
There's no driving involved.
Yes. In fact, it's interesting. We, as you know, Hogue runs a very prominent and beneficial addiction services, and we are full. And our mental health services, which are always in demand, are exceedingly in demand now. So we're seeing the side effects of the fear virus in our mental health and addiction services, and we're there. We are ramping up our services because this virus has significantly elevated some of the mental health issues that our population faces. We know from the national press that with sheltering at home, domestic violence has risen, which is not a good thing. And so people are irritable. They're not used to being cooped up. And so practicing the mindfulness exercises and relieving anxiety help others. If you know some folks who are shut in and are alone, maybe drop them a little sterile goodie basket on their front door. Call them and say hello. You know, focusing on others and helping others diminishes your own anxiety level as well. Gives you another purpose that makes you think that you're contributing, being part of the solution and not part of the problem. This will soon be behind us. I think that the politicians, as you know, are very interested in being reelected, and so they have an element of posturing they have to go through, and also they're accountable for patient safety and public safety. So they're being very, very careful. But on the medical side, we're becoming more convinced that we've seen the worst, and people that are worried about a second wave, well, there's always infection all around us, all sorts of, whether it's the norovirus on cruise ships or the simple flu or colds. That's why practicing self-hygiene strictly and social distancing. But you know, I look forward to the days we can see smiles behind those masks and we can start hugging each other again. Because what's happening now has gotten past the point of productive restriction, in my personal opinion. I think that people can start thinking about going out with masks if they're coughing or sneezing. Obviously, you should stay home if you're coughing or sneezing. But if you're out and about, keeping a distance of 3 to 6 feet is recommended until this is past. And it will be past us soon.
So let's look at some of the takeaways. So obviously hygiene is very important, but that's been important anyway, right? But I think what this has done is helped us think more about washing our hands, as you've mentioned. Can you talk a little bit more about the teleconferencing? What is actually happening? Can they call their doctor and it would be conducted that way?
Yes, so the breakthrough, we've all been, before COVID, looking at ways of improving access to healthcare, preventive health, and even routine health visits. The barrier has been the lack of a mechanism to bill insurance companies and collect for those telehealth visits the way that traditionally has been done for in-person visits.
Okay, that's great.
And what this crisis has done is greatly accelerated the payment process for telehealth visits. So you still register, there's still a bill generated for the visit. The insurance companies now, and certainly Medicare led the way, as it always does, are now have developed the tools to reimburse physicians for their time when they visit with you. Now, certainly at times, it's still very important to have an in-person visit a physical exam. You can't get a virtual vaccination as an example.
Right.
But so there's still important times to come visit your doctor, and your doctor's offices are also very quiet because people have sheltered at home. So they have time for the telehealth visits. They may even have more time for the telehealth visits than in-person visits, but they certainly have time for in-person visits. And they too have learned all of the hygiene issues that are so critical around the new virus that's spreading. And so their offices are also very secure if should you need to come in for an in-person visit. I'm going to my dentist today because I've had a temporary for 8 weeks that should have been out 6 weeks ago. And I'm totally convinced that I'm safe at my dentist's office. Things like that. We need to start making sure that we don't get a tooth abscess and get septic from some bacterium from our tooth abscess because we're afraid that we might catch and or die from the COVID virus. So we need to start getting back to a level of security with the tools we have at hand and use common sense.
Exactly. And I would agree with you on all of that. And one last thing, let's just remind everybody that do not wait to the last minute to go to the emergency room for a very important thing if you're having chest pains or any other type of ailment.
Yes, in fact, I was very happy to see the Orange County Health Agency put out an announcement by its lead physician picking up on this theme just yesterday. You can look it up and they make that very same point. And so the officials will start talking about this. They haven't. They've been too preoccupied with the body counts, et cetera.
Yes.
But this is an important point. Do not neglect your health for unnecessary fear of a virus that's not as potent as you might think by listening to the collective numbers. Think about your individual level of risk, what your risk is of a health condition that needs attention versus your individual risk of getting this virus, which is still pretty small, and dying from this virus, which is almost negligible.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate all of the information that you've provided. Thank you again, and stay healthy out there. And good luck at the dentist.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And we'll be right back after this. Thank you for joining us. Today I have Diane Phelps, who is here with the Laguna Woods Community Fund. Well, Diane, thank you so much for joining us. It was very nice to see you.
Thank you. Thank you for letting us come on.
Of course. How are you doing in your self-at-home stuff?
You know, I'm doing great. I'm a putzer, so I can putz around and do tons of stuff. I'm doing things I haven't been able to do for a long time, have put off for a long time. And then I have a dog, so I'm walking the dog. I'm going on a bike ride, all sorts of things. So it's great.
So you're keeping busy. So that's important because we've been talking to a lot of folks in the community who are also doing the same thing. And I think we just, we'd love to get back to normal, but here are things that we haven't done, like you said, in ages. So it's good to get to those.
Well, and I have little grandchildren, and so we've just had to become creative. We've been playing Uno on FaceTime and stuff like that, trying to find different ways to stay connected. So
exactly. That's awesome. Okay, so let's talk about the community fund. What is it, and tell us about it.
Okay, so the Village Community Fund, it's a charitable organization that we set up a couple of years ago, and its mission is to provide support for programs, services, and facilities that enrich the lives of older adults. So what we're doing now is we're having a fundraising campaign. We're trying to raise funds to help with some of the needs that have come up based on, because of the COVID virus.
Now, your fund has been around for a few years. So tell me why you started the fund. Like, what was the reasoning? Was there not enough places for people to go to support?
Well, generally what we do, we were trying to fill a gap because often when it really is set up to generally, except for now during this pandemic, it's set up really for projects around the village.
Okay.
And so, or for seniors anywhere in the Laguna Woods area. But, and so, we've had like the video club, they got a new studio built out, but they didn't get the equipment. So we through us, they raised the funds to equip that. There were some starter clocks that the golfers wanted, and so we've raised funds to pay for that. And so that's really what it's meant for, because we can't really rely on GRF or the housing mutuals, but especially GRF, to pay for everything. So we're trying to fill in the gap where there's shortfalls of funds. And that's
awesome.
So now that COVID has come up and there's this pandemic, and all of a sudden there's this great need, we're trying, and so we're separate from the foundation, but like the foundation, we're trying to see if there's something we can do to help.
That's awesome. I mean, that is really nice of you to shift gears. So let's talk about what the donations would fund during this pandemic.
Well, there are 4 specific areas we'll give the funding out. The first is, food and meals and other necessities to seniors in need.
All right.
Financial assistance to staff who've been furloughed for needs such as COBRA health insurance, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Medical care and equipment to seniors. So, for help to help doctors, maybe for some more PPE, maybe some equipment. And then the 4th is support to staff and volunteers working to keep us safe by keeping the virus out of Laguna Woods. So these are the 4 areas that we looked at that we thought were needs that needed to be met. So that's what we're looking at.
Can you elaborate a little bit on financial assistance to staff? Who are you referring to there?
Well, as seniors, we realize the impact on us, and all of us that are sitting in our homes, we get it. But most of us that are seniors aren't working, I should say. And so, but there are people that are working and have lost their source of revenue. And that's both, and even here in Laguna Woods. So even, our gate ambassadors, the part-timers, the seniors, a lot of them aren't working. And so we just think that there are some needs that they may have, and even staff, Laguna Woods staff, Village Community Fund, VMS staff, right. They've been laid off or been furloughed, I guess is the term. Yeah. And so there's a question of what to do with their health insurance. But again, they're missing a lot of their income. And so is there something that people see as a need? And I have to say, we thought of that because somebody called into the, at a GRF meeting, and they said, are you thanking the people that are working? Because the people that are working, like you are working really hard. And then there are those that would like to work and aren't working and can't get paid. And so, right. And one of my neighbors asked me about, COBRA. Is it, what are we doing about health insurance and that kind of thing? So that's what we're looking at.
Well, that's great because, boy, COBRA is really expensive. So if there's some way.
And then it's a bad time to lose your health insurance.
A lot of things are changing daily, so it's hard to keep up with all the changes. So this is awesome. Okay, so if somebody wanted to donate to your fund, how would they go about doing that?
Well, there's a couple of ways. So they can go to our website, which is villagecommunityfund.org. Mm-hmm. And there's a donate online button.
Right.
And also on the website, there's a donation form they can fill out. They can download it, fill it out, and they can mail it along with a check to us. And that's our address. It's Village Community Fund, 24338 El Toro Road, Suite E, PMB, which stands for Private Mailbox 223.
Okay.
Laguna Woods 92637. And if you don't want to download the form, that's fine too. You can just mail a check to us, but the reason for the donation form is that there are 4 different areas. And so you can pick if you would like it to go to one of the particular, one thing as opposed to another. Or you can, if you don't choose, then we'll just go to put it in where the need or the benefit is greatest. So.
And you're strictly looking for money, not donations of items.
Right.
Okay, perfect. I just clarified that. Now, during the COVID situation, what are some things that you're identifying there?
Well, okay, so I guess one thing I have to do is tell you a little bit about how to think of us as an organization. So we're really think of us as a clearinghouse. So what we do is we get donations in, and then we give them to where they to programs and services, or Okay, so normally, like I say, it's the donations come in and they fund projects. And so a club or an organization will come to us and they'll help raise the money themselves. But, right. But in this case with COVID, we've thought, well, we know there's a need, so let's raise funds. So the other thing that we're asking for, in addition to donations, if you're a club or an organization, or you know of an organization that needs something, let us know, needs some funding, let us know. And the way you do that is you can just go on our website, and we have a project application, a COVID project application form, and you just fill that out. Let's see, and send that in to us, and we'll, what happens is we have a board, and our board considers it. And one of the people that really helps us a lot is Leslie Mogul, is our director of philanthropy, and she for a long time, she was down at Laguna Playhouse, and so she knows what she's doing, and so she really guides us through a lot of that end of it. So anyhow, so that's what so in addition to money, because we do want money, but we also, if you have a project out there or a program that you need to get done, let us know. And if you meet our criteria and we have the funds, we'll give them to you.
Okay, that's awesome. And I know that you have an email address as well, so people could email you there and ask questions.
Right, and I'm sorry, when you fill out the form, the project application form, that you can email it to us at villagecommunityfund@gmail.com.
Okay, perfect. Well, your organization sounds great, year round, of course, regardless of what kind of pandemics we're dealing with. But I like the fact that you're working with the clubs. So if they have something additional that they're going to need, that's really nice.
Well, thanks. We said, I was treasurer of GRF for 3 years, and everybody was always asking for money, and we just didn't have all the money we needed. And a lot of times we would just do the basics, but there was, were some niceties that people wanted, or something they didn't want to wait long enough because it might be in our budget, but not for 5 years. And so we're trying to make this, it's kind of a new concept. It's just starting to take hold, and hopefully, this is the way, it'll supplement some of the funding that we need in the village.
That is great. Well, I appreciate all the work that you're doing. Thank you so much. And it was very nice to talk to you. You stay healthy out there.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for thanks for letting me come talk about it.
You're welcome.
Bye.
And we'll be right back after this. Welcome back. Well, the Village Breeze is on its way to your mailbox, and it staggers, so individual deliveries vary, so look for that in the next week. Okay, I want to tell you our movie today is The Good Liar, and it will be at 3 p.m. with subtitles and 6 p.m. without, and that is brought to you by Hogue. And then also, we have a really cool thing happening tonight at 5 p.m. It's called One World Together at Home. It's a music concert with Lady Gaga, Paul McCartney, Billie Eilish, Casey Musgraves, 5 p.m. Have a great day in the village, and we will see you on Monday.